Hi there, welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. I'm Jennifer Kirk and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing my top 5 picks for small steam shunting locomotives. Bit of a mouthful, but without further ado, let's take a look at the 5 that I've picked. Okay, well there's a lot of different choice available on the market from different manufacturers, and I took a lot of time over thinking, what am I going to pick for this top 5? And this is something that was put to me by one of the subscribers asking about, what I would recommend for a small shunting locomotive. And what I thought is I'm going to split this into 2 different videos over the time that we're going to be doing this, and there's so much choice that I'm going to pick steam locomotives for this video, and later on we're going to be doing a diesel locomotive shunter video. But there's so many different ones on the market. I was actually spoilt for choice and I got quite a large collection of different locomotives, but I managed to come up with what I believe are my top 5. And I know that some of you won't necessarily agree with my picks, but that's okay because everybody has their own favourites, and I'd love to hear about yours in the comments down below. But my first pick is this. It's the ex-Dapol Hornby Lancashire and Yorkshire Pug. This locomotive has been in a variety of different ranges since at least the early 1990s, and I think that it really does hold up well. Now, a lot of people have used this chassis over the years on 016.5 scratch-built models. It really does lend itself to a whole load of different uses. It is getting a little bit long in the tooth these days, but the bits that matter, the bits that you see on the top there, I think they still hold their own. It doesn't perform as well as new models, but it can be fettled to be a fairly reasonable performer, and certainly is one of my favourite types of locomotives. I've got, I think at last count, I've got 8, maybe even 9 different liveries of these. You can get it in Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway livery, you can get it in LMS livery, you can get it in BR livery, and in the BR livery I've seen them available with British Railway spelt out in full, with the early Cycling Lion logo as per this one, and also Lake Crest as well. So these are a pretty long-lived locomotive, so it's quite pleasing. It lends itself to a whole host of different models depending on which one you go for. This particular version actually has special significance for me. This is the first ever modern era locomotive that I ever bought when I got back into modelling. So that's going to be my number 5 choice. For number 4, I've gone for the Hattons P-Class. This is one that we did a full box opening and review video not so long since on, and it came out with flying colours, and as a small shunting locomotive, really it has to be in my top 5. The particular example that I've got here in my collection is the SECR Wartime Austerity Grey version, but it has been produced by Hattons in a whole host of different liveries. So we've got everything from its original South Eastern and Chatham Railway livery in a fully lined out version, which has just recently been delivered and come on the market, and it's one that actually I really do want to get an example of. I haven't got one in my collection at the moment, but then they've also produced this, the Wartime Austerity Grey version, which is the one which I chose from the first initially released batch. But then they've also got the Southern Railway liveries, and they've got the BR liveries, and also when these passed into industrial work, there's 2 particular examples, Bowwaters Paper Mill and also Robertsbridge Flour Mill. They've produced those as well, so you've got the ready-to-run industrial versions, you've got all the other different railway company versions, and again, like the ex-Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Pug, we've got a locomotive here which encompasses pretty much the same period of operation, so it's something that will cover most people's steam era operating layouts. So it's a really good pick. I've put it in at number 4. It was a tough decision, it has to be said, because there's so many other good versions out there of different locomotives, but for me, for my number 3 pick, I've picked the Hornby Packet. Now, this particular locomotive introduced, actually it came in a little bit under the radar last year, but it really blew a lot of people away. They brought it out initially in this particular livery, which is the MSC Manchester Ship Canal number 11, which for me was just a perfect locomotive because I model my exhibition layout is the Manchester Ship Canal themed, Trafford Park themed layout. So this was perfect. But they also brought it out in the very, very ornate and colourful Huntley and Palmer's Biscuits livery, and in fact actually that's been so successful that Hornby are now producing the other Huntley and Palmer's W4 Packet livery. I think that's upcoming in early part of 2019. I could be wrong on that, but certainly it's one that if you want to get that, if you missed out on it first time round, get your order in. They're coming thick and fast, and these colourful industrial liveried packets really are something special. I gave this pretty much top marks when I did box opening and reviews on all three of the initial runs. The Lillis Hall black version is I think it's coming out very, very shortly, but I had to put this in my top 5, and I've put it in the number 3 position. And some of you are probably thinking, actually number 3, so what could there be better than the Hornby Packet? Well, we're going to come to that in a moment, but the thing about the Hornby Packet is it is a very long-lived design. I think these date right back to, if not the very end of the 19th century, then certainly very early in the 20th century. And these locomotives ran in industrial service right through to, in some instances, I think some of them did last into the early 70s, but you can stretch that. So if you want to run steam shunting locomotives into the diesel period of BR, these are a perfect choice. So I'm going to put that to one side. And then what is number 2? Well, I can tell you, number 2 for me is the Backman Stroke Model Rail Special Commission USA Dock Tank. And for me, when I did this as a box opening and review, it really blew me away. It had already been out around a year, but for me, it was a little bit of a sleeper model. I bought this when I went to Worley, and really I've been so not disappointed by it. It is a faultless performer. It's got a really good weight to it, very well detailed, and again, as a useful small shunting locomotive, I really cannot say anything more highly about this. It blew me away at the time. It's been a reliable performer ever since. It's available in a number of different liveries. We've got the very late Southern Railway liveries available, which it ran when delivered in wartime, used by the Southern Railway, and then moving on into the BR liveries. There's the BR departmental liveries, the Maunsell Green livery, which looks really, really nice, and also they've done the Longmoor Military Railway example here, the NCB example as well. So again, a locomotive which lasted in some instances beyond the end of BR steam. So it's applicable from sort of some point during the Second World War right through into the 1970s with the, for example, the NCB examples. And a number of these do still persist to this day, preserved on various steam railways up and down the country. Indeed, they also did the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway livery. They did the wartime USA Transportation Department livery as well. So there's a whole host of different liveries for these. And actually, it's something that to be said about all of these is they do lend themselves, if you're feeling very, very enthusiastic about coming up with your own fictitious industrial livery, they look well at home, all of these painted into that. So that's my number 2 pick. I'm going to put that to one side. And number 1, what could it be? Well, actually, I think some of you might have an inkling. I did do this recently in a box opening and review. Yeah, it's the Andrew Barclay shunter from Hattons, and this for me was a very special locomotive. When I bought my example, did the full box opening and review treatment on this, I got myself the CPC United Kingdom livery version, but they do so many different versions that really is spoilt for choice. They've even got the BR liveried versions. I think there's a Great Western Railway liveried version, the Caledonian Railway liveried version that they did do. It has to be said that's a livery that it only carried in preservation. But rule one, run whatever you like. If you want to do pre-grouping, what the heck, you do that. These locomotives, they run exceptionally well. The weight on them is really, really good. For a small shunting layout, a small shunting locomotive, you really could do no better than this. This really is the bee's knees. It is, yeah, oh, I nearly swore there. You know what I was going to say. It's the dog's doodah. This is, for me, the best #1 choice of steam era shunting locomotive, and indeed they persisted right through into the 1970s. In fact, this particular version, I think 1976, possibly 1977, it lasted to in service in Trafford Park. So it's my top pick, my #1 choice for the top 5 steam locomotive shunters that I recommend. So really, there's not really much more to say about these. If you want to go back and look at a more in-depth review, I do have box opening and reviews for the Andrew Barclay shunter, the USA dock tank, the Hornby W4 Packet, the Hattons P-Class, and I've also done a box opening and review as well for the venerable Dapol stroke Hornby ex-Lancashire and Yorkshire pug. These are my top 5 choices for you. Well, I hope that's been informative to you. Don't forget, if you have some different suggestions, don't forget to leave them down in the comments section below, and I would love to hear your thoughts on what are your particular top 5 picks on small steam shunting locomotives. Don't forget also to like this video and share it too, and also subscribe to the channel and ring that bell and you'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. But until next time, thanks again for watching, and you take very good care of yourself. It's me, Jenny Kirk, saying bye for now. Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon. And a special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Mark Anthony and Michael Churchwood. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knobty Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.